Fear is the mind killer must be the best known sentence in all of Frank Herbert's works, thanks to its quotable and concise nature, giving it high memetic value. I always find that sentences reaching certain popularity of use lose their meaning. They are no longer thought-provoking, even if they were such at first. Like a word repeated too many times loses its meaning, becoming a signifier without any signified. Although, in repeating them, you might find yourself actually consider meaning behind them, which could be taken for granted previously. Such common phrases and proverbs can seem banal, a truism, but that which you find uninteresting, a thought already considered, might still hold meaning. So let us look what we can learn about this quote from Dune itself. It appears early in the book. In scene proceeding, we read that fear pulses through the hand of Jessica, Paul's mother. It could mean that Paul is very good at reading his mother's emotion, but it's Dune. External and internal seem to mix. It also showcases that focus of the scene is emotions. Humanity of Paul Atreides is put to the test by Reverend Mother of Bene Gesserit. The test is supposed to reveal if someone is truly human by checking their control over their emotions and actions. Paul needs to put his hand in the box and is immediately fearful of it. This part of the text reminds me of statues, like this one in Rome. As a child, I always thought there is something strangely unnerving about putting part of your body in a place where you cannot see it, fear becoming more potent, with myths of such statues being able to bite off your hand. It's here that Paul tries to keep his shit together by repeating a lesson his mother gave him. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Frank Herbert had many influences while writing Dune. Around that time, Buddhism was getting more recognizable in Europe and America thanks to popularizers like Alan Watts. The way Frank Herbert writes this part might be influenced by practice of meditation. As Paul reminds himself to look at his emotions, he also notes that they should not control his actions or thoughts, both of which are found in certain mindfulness practices. He must remain still and subject himself to pain to prove his will is stronger than animalistic instincts. It's an inner fight. Primal versus civilized, or perhaps id versus superego, concepts taken directly from Carl Jung, who was another of Herbert's influences. Subjects of dualism in human nature were already used in other literary works, like in Steppenwolf by Hermann Hesse, who also wrote Siddhartha, which is again about Buddhism. Buddhism and psychoanalysis were prominent influences, both in fiction and more classic literature of 20th century. And now, it's time for my tangent on why this scene doesn't work for me. The Gom Jabbar test in Dune is supposed to determine your humanity, understood as your ability to control yourself and override your primal instincts. The test works by inducing great pain in Paul's hand while he has to hold still, to consciously and by choice remain in pain. that was it. It could be a test of will. But Paul is aware that if he does retract his hand, if he stops the pain, he will be killed. So this isn't much of a test of will at all. Even if he believes he would be hurt or permanently injured, still the other option is death. So there isn't much fear working against Paul in the test. If anything, fear of being killed could help Paul stay in control of himself. It's a test of pain tolerance. And there are people in our world who consciously induce great pain in themselves just for the hell of it. The only thing which is checked here is if he can prioritize his life over not being in pain for a bit, a fraction of one day. So I don't find Paul Atreides to be very special for passing the test. And the main quote seems to be a bit out of place in this scene. Psychology as a field of study is still relatively new, but our understanding of it as old as we are, like the statue from before, being surrounded by myth that if you lie when your hand is in the statue's mouth, it would get chewed off. Someone realized that power of fear could disturb the liar enough to make them say the truth. It is like an old lie detector that works by making you believe the truth will be known. Polygraph machines, on the other hand, work exactly the same. They might measure your physiological responses, but that's just it. They check if you are moved in any way, but they cannot tell if it's because of lying, excitement, fear. They could be useful if someone believed that they truly are lie detectors, but that's psychology again. Maybe that's why the only place where you'll see them being used is YouTube entertainment channels. Perhaps the Gomjaba test is equally a sham. In a later part of the book, Paul uses a fake prophecy for his own gain, and it is unclear to me if he actually believes himself to be the chosen one. After all, if everybody around you tells you that you are a larger-than-life figure, you might believe it yourself. So, does Reverend Mother know that she is exerting her power over a teenager, making them herd under threat of death? Or maybe she really believes she did something here. Paul's family name, Atreides, is taken by Herbert from ancient Greek culture. It's the name of Agamemnon and Menelaus, those who saw the Ilion burn. They are important players in the Iliad, which is in a way a central point for a lot of Greek stories. It connects to many of them, like Oresteia, where you can learn what happened to Agamemnon after the Trojan War. Greek mythology is still a great example of understanding psychology before it was a science. Early psychoanalysts understood it as a metaphor for the mind, along with other myths from around the world. So Jung, one of the inspirations of Herbert's, was in turn influenced by ancient myths. And so was Herbert, although he reimagined myths and prophecies as more of a cold calculation. So he was influenced by mythology both on primary and secondary level. It's obvious that Dune is influenced by Arab culture, Fremen, the Butlerian Jihad, and so on. I've heard many times that during the Middle Ages, it was the Arab world that held the light of education, and yet I couldn't name one non-European scholar from that time. My education has given me the broad strokes, but no specifics. It might be unsurprising then that the one man I know is, if not father, then grandfather of medicine, true polymath and man of Renaissance before Renaissance became a thing. Ibn Sina, known in Europe as Avicenna, was mostly known for his medical knowledge and mastery. It is only reasonable that his book, titled The Book of Healing, is about philosophy. He was learned in Greek philosophy, most importantly in thought of Aristotle, as well as Islamic thinkers. He spoke of emotions' influence on body and behavior, although Greeks and others had similar ideas before, especially pertaining to dreams. Yet he put them to greater theory and practice. He proposed that the first level of mind's influence over body is how we can move, how we can direct our limbs by thought alone. Second level was influence over things we cannot control at will, how anger can change our heart's beat, how fear might make us shake even if there is nothing happening to us yet. There is a story I've always heard as his about a plank and a chasm. As it goes, if you put a plank on a well-trodden path, you would have no problem walking on it. But if you put it over a chasm, the fear of falling alone could make you tremble and fall. It is a great illustration of Ibn Sina's thought, but it seems that it doesn't actually come from him. Wikipedia states that it does, and so did the university professor from whom I know of Ibn Sina, and yet I couldn't find it. The Book of Healing is surprisingly hard to come by. I know it's a millennium old, but there are older books that are easily accessible. Things I found online were either behind paywall or only a part of the full work, without this specific part in them. My local library has part of Book of Healing translated, but it too lacks the specific part that interests me. And yet I found some passages with a bit of creativity, and it seems that they do not contain the plank story in them. If you somehow read the Book of Healing in full, I would love to hear your findings. So, the story of plank and chasm seems to originate from that uncertain, transient place that is folklore. I also didn't find Herbert talking specifically about Ibn Sina, but he was internationally known and studied, importantly by Thomas Aquinas, and thus he had a part in shaping European philosophy in its rather early stages. Just like now, Marcus Aurelius is also well known and read. Although I never read his Meditations, so I cannot say what he thought about mind and emotions. I can only assume by him being a Stoic. But I've read other meditations. Meditations on the First Philosophy by René Descartes is a quick read, as it was recommended to me. It's also where he forms his famous "I think, therefore I am," and yet reading it made me respect him less. He does not begin with trying to understand the world or finding truth. He sets out with a goal, to prove existence of God, and he begins this task by licking Church's ass real clean. Only then he figures out that the only thing that can be certain is that he himself exists, so that everyone and everything else, even his own body, could be an illusion. I think, therefore I am is much more solipsistic than I expected from the quote itself. He poses this argument at the beginning of the book, and it is his strongest one. So he then has to scramble and bend his own thoughts to prove what he set out to prove. Juvenal wrote in his satires, "You might pray for a sound mind in a healthy body." He uses sound mind in a healthy body as separate desirable qualities, but translations of this specific part are still echoed in many languages today. But I somehow doubt that this sentence is the first time such idea came to be known. Common wisdom has its roots deep in Rock of Generations. What might seem obvious to us might have been a real breakthrough in ages past. So now we understand a sound mind in a healthy body as being connected, just like Ibn Sina did. Mind's powers over reality are uncertain in our own world. In Dune, they seem more straightforward. The voice is used to directly influence actions of others. Some people are just more charismatic and more likely to have their asks acted upon. But in Herbert's work, it is magic. It's exaggeration of what is real in our world. More than anything, Herbert, and so the quote itself, was influenced by his time and its collective conscious knowledge and understanding of how things work. Thank you for watching. This has been an exercise for me, one in which I can learn how to write a script, edit, record audio, and choose the form of a video. There is an argument to not publish videos that are subpar or that are not satisfactory for you, but I'm going to do that, so I hope I wasn't too insufferable. Have a great day.